Our studio guest this morning is the Shadow Minister for Immigration, Scott Morrison. But first we'll see what the Sunday papers are covering around the country, and with the government under pressure to talk about what it stands for, Kerry-Ann, there's talk now of one such opportunity, I guess, will be the National Conference, and they might bring it on early.
Well, if the National Conference had any relevance, I guess this would be a great story. But Fairfax is reporting that the conference, which is traditionally held every couple of years, where Labor supposedly determines its platform, which the government or the opposition of the day supposedly adheres to, will be pulled forward to November or December next year. It may also be held in Melbourne. Now, considering that these things are staged, managed, there's very little debate, things are organised all beforehand. It's just a little bit of a show where the boys and girls can get together. I mean, what's the point?
But Carl Batar is saying that it's very important that this time around they have a debate, given they didn't have one last time. And
what will the debate... I mean, how will a debate take place when debates simply haven't occurred for a long time at national conferences? And while there are those who believe that this is still important, in terms of a Labor government actually following what may or may not be in the platform anyway is neither here nor there, because there's a get-out clause in the platform.
So, yes, I agree with you to a degree, Kerry-Ann, but I think that what Labor is desperately trying to do, given the outpouring of criticism we've had about Labor's management from Labor figures over the past 3 weeks, and, you know, you've got Richardson on Friday, you've got John Faulkner, and so on and so forth, going back at the various book launches. I think that the Carl Batar and the National Executive would be trying to establish some relevance again and trying to get ahead of the pack, trying to stem some of this exposure of the hollowness and the lack of an agenda. And they want to be seen to probably bring that national conference not just to the end of the year, possibly earlier.
And they want to do that before. I mean, we're talking about bringing it forward to late next year.
I think they'll bring it forward even sooner, Kerry-Ann, because they can't keep... I mean, they're just drifting like a bleeding corpse.
So unlike the coalition.
But the coalition's not the government, David, may I remind you.
So it can bleed and bleed, and that's
Well,
fine.
I don't see it is bleeding. I mean, you know, Joe Hockey was out there this week. Tony Abbott was up in North Queensland and so forth, doing a number of things. There's no indication of a split. There's no beat-ups about the coalition having these, you know, major internal hemorrhaging.
And Melbourne this time, many years ago, they moved to Hobart to get away from the Canberra demonstrators. Now they're moving to Melbourne to get away from the New South Wales right.
Whether it's the New South Wales right or whether Sydney with this election looks very shabby. I mean, I think we've had our 17th or 18th Labor figure.
Tony Stewart is the latest one this morning.
Does he take it to 17 or 18?
17.
17. You know, and I'm told that there are at least 2 more who are likely to go, 2 in the next few weeks, and who knows before March when the election's actually... The thing looks bad, Barry.
Now, David, the Fairfax papers got hold of a Treasury briefing under Freedom of Information dealing with the big population. I think most of these figures were known, but this confirms it.
Yes, Josh Gordon in the Sun Herald this morning is reporting that a much bigger Australia is on the way, whether we like it or not. And the bogey figure of 36 million population, which was everybody was desperately trying to avoid during the election campaign. And after the campaign was over, there was a Treasury briefing to Julia Gillard that said, even if we managed to cut immigration intake by 2/3, we'd be at roughly 30 million by 2050. And the conclusion reached in the Treasury brief that Josh Gordon got hold of, given the powerful global forces driving the Australian economy, net immigration figures well in excess of that low number are probably inescapable. So we're heading to 36 million, whether we like it or not, as a product of the fact that we're booming.
That's an extraordinary story, really, Barry, that she went into this election talking about, you know, small Australia and happy with the... But to have to cut immigration down to 60,000, or 2/3, as David said, to achieve that, it's pure fantasy.
Piers, old man, that was a fantasy shared on all sides of politics, wasn't it? Be at least fair there. Be at least fair there.
David, but let's being in the spirit of fairness, the Treasury paper went to the government. It didn't go to the opposition.
It doesn't change.
It doesn't change the situation because
No.
both sides were talking through their trumpets.
No. I mean, but David, one can address, what is a desired outcome, but when you have this in your briefing papers, how do you stand there in front?
But Piers, they were both blathering all the way through the election campaign.
Whether or not it doesn't matter who was blathering. The point is that it was nonsensical.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That given what Australia's needs are going into the future, not only on a skills basis but just pure population, and the fact that the fertility rate is so low, we will just disappear if we don't have a healthy immigration level.
And the Treasury
and the fact
briefing...
that both sides were blathering during the election campaign and trying to hoodwink the Australian people is a disgrace to politics and politicians in general.
And the Treasury briefing came to Gillard after the election, not before.